Hey Zia, what do you call someone who speaks two languages?
Bilingual,
Three languages?
trilingual,
One language?
American.
Hey guys, Kimberly and Zia here, and this is our presentation on the historical significance and importance of bilingual education, especially when introduced at a young age. So what's the problem? Well, students who don't already know English when starting school in America are put at a disadvantage from the beginning, with lesser quality teachers, classes, and treatment. 61.8 million people don't speak English in the US, and considering the majority of our schools are taught in English, there's an obvious problem with the way educational systems are ignoring other languages. But not only do students with a native language need a proper and thorough introduction of English into their life, but Americans that mainly speak English need to be exposed to a new language early on in life in order to be bilingual. 15 to 20% of the population in the US is bilingual, compared to Europe, which is 56%. America is nicknamed the melting pot as a means to embrace its diverse population. In the 19th century, America was a place where people of all races came to live a better life with more freedom. They brought their different cultures and languages with them as well. During this time, the immigration of black slaves from Africa was also prevalent. When slavery was abolished, these former slaves slowly became part of the community and culture of America. For these reasons, America is much more ethnically diverse compared to Europe and Asia, and our population is becoming more and more diverse every day. Therefore, we must accommodate this increase with a proper education that incorporates the English languages with other native languages. So what's the solution? Bilingual education. Bilingual education is education in an English language school system in which students with little fluency in English are taught in both their native language and in English. In these classes, the switchover is done gradually so the teachers can focus on the students being fluent in both languages and holding on to their culture.
Here is a timeline of bilingual education in the United States. In 1839, 1847, and 1850, progress was made for bilingual education when 3 different states created laws and courses in favor of it. In 1923, though, Nebraska passed a law against it, and up until the 1960s, a theme of suppression of students in need of help learning English was shown. This changed in 1964 and 1968 when the Civil Rights Act and the Bilingual Education Act were passed, which prohibited racism in federal operations like public schools and showed recognition of the government that bilingual education is important. After the Civil Rights Movement in 1974, a lawsuit was filed against the San Francisco School District for violating the rights of students who don't speak English. And subsequently, the 2001 No Child Left Behind Act was passed, and it appropriated funds for states to improve bilingual education programs. After the World Wars and before the Civil Rights Movement, America was negatively biased towards foreigners. This led to the lack of acceptance of children who spoke languages other than English in public schools. Oftentimes, they were left behind in terms of schoolwork and social experience. They were given lesser quality teachers, schools, and actual learning content. Once the Civil Rights Movement started, bilingual education activists found a mechanism to voice their protest through. They advocated that bilingual education should be prevalent for non-native English speakers as well as for English speakers to grow up learning a secondary language. This also led to the Bilingual Education Act passed in 1968. After the Bilingual Education Act, there was some improvement in bilingual education, but still some issues. In some cases, lawsuits were filed against public school districts for not respecting the 14th Amendment. This led to the formation and passing of the No Child Left Behind Act, which stated that children not proficient in English should be given the assistance and on-level academic content they need. Before the Civil Rights Movement, funding for these programs was almost non-existent federally, as it was seen as unnecessary and in some cases offensive. After the Bilingual Education Act, though, federal funding increased by over 500%. It went from about 7.5 million to 68 million nationwide.
God. So how does America benefit from bilingual education? Well, Americans who are fluent in more than one language can enhance America's economic competitiveness abroad, maintain its political and security interests, and work to promote an understanding of cultural diversity within the United States. Individuals can also benefit highly from being bilingual. Being bilingual is a skill considered very valuable in the world of job finding. As the world has become more economically competitive, businesses have realized they need bilingual employees to help them reach international consumers, save the cost of a new post, and give tougher competition to rivals. Finally, being bilingual leads to a stronger understanding of community and self. For example, learning a language opposing from your own with a new cultural outlook makes children more adaptable and accepting, giving them a greater understanding and appreciation for the world around them and not just the personal level.
Bilingual education has had to fight for representation in our school system since the founding of America. Despite its many cognitive benefits as well as cultural immersive experience unique to learning a secondary language, many people still have to fight for their right to an equal and fair education. Bilingual education should be present and active in all public schools for the benefit of students not proficient in English and for students to learn a new language and get a fresh perspective on their world.